Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about episode 2 of the Wheel of Time TV show. So as usual, we're going to talk non-spoilery thoughts and opinions up front, then we're going to jump over to spoilers where we can talk in more detail. So as always, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And if you're interested in watching my reactions to these episodes, I have a link to my Patreon down in the description. So that's there for you if you want to check that out. So with that being said, let's begin. So, episode 2 of The Wheel of Time, it literally picks up right where it left off. We are picking up in the aftermath of everything that happened at the end of the last episode, and all our characters are away. We have all taken off with Moraine and Lan, so they're all basically traveling. We've started the Lord of the Rings portion of the story, really, where we just have like a lot of trekking. And I love that this is pretty much all character interactions, apart from we see the Trollocs and stuff again, but it's a lot of character interactions, and we get to see like the events of the last episode really have their impacts on all the characters, and I think it's done so well. So in the last episode, Nynaeve was immediately my favorite, and in this episode, Perrin is totally my favorite because Marcus's acting is so well done. He has such an emotive face. He is so very expressionate that in the scenes like where he's in a lot of pain and stuff, it's like completely impossible not to empathize with him. And he's already my favorite character just in general, so like that probably helps too. But in general, I think it's just done so well, and I really like the direction that the show is going with some of the changes. I like the fact that they basically answered some of the questions that I had from last episode. One of the things that I thought was going to have a ramification because of the situation that obviously takes place at the end of the episode with them leaving home and everything. I assumed that that was going to have an impact on one of the decisions that they made, one of the changes that they made, but they immediately kind of acknowledge it and they talk about it, and it kind of becomes the reason for the change instead of just kind of a catalyst for the change. So it's really interesting, but a part of me is like confused because towards the end of the episode, they kind of like take that back a little bit. They seem to they renege on it a little bit, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in spoilers so I get more detail on it. But that was one of the things I was like, okay, that's interesting. But apart from that, all the performances are really good. Like I'm really liking the world building. They have a lot of really good locations that they're using, and it's all like beautiful, and we're in the forest and stuff. And this episode, I really noticed the wardrobe a lot, especially like with Egwene's outfit. Like her jacket looked very modern, but at the same time it looked like, I guess all of it's modern because it's like far future kind of situation, but it looked like contemporary modern, but also had this flair of like a Renaissance kind of, not medieval, but like that kind of time period or whatever. So I really like that. The wardrobe is very unique, and I like how it like just adds so much more to this world, makes it feel unique, so we don't have to like constantly compare it to things like Game of Thrones. So let's go ahead and jump into spoilers. So spoilers for episode 2 of The Wheel of Time, and also possible spoilers for some book stuff. I might sprinkle some of that stuff in there. So you've been warned. So let's jump right into it. So one of the things that happened in the beginning of the episode that I thought was really interesting, the Aes Sedai that is being burned by the White Cloaks, we see that her hands have been chopped off. So I think that means that there is no channeling if you don't have hands. You can't channel, even though hands aren't particularly, required for channeling. Like they are, but they're not. It's kind of a conduit thing. But so it's interesting that they're kind of making that a hard rule. So if a Aes Sedai loses their, or any channeler really loses their hands, they won't be able to channel. That's kind of interesting extra dimension. Like it makes them feel less all powerful, and it makes it feel more logical to me that someone could actually like collect rings on their belt with that type of ability, especially when you have so many soldiers. And that entire scene in general, I just thought was awesome. It was very intimidating, especially considering I really didn't like their outfits. I thought their outfits were way too like calm and demure kind of thing, not like just threatening enough. But they really showed me that they are a huge threat, and it's just like they have this viciousness, especially the questioner guy who we've seen in all the trailers. He's having lunch or whatever while the Aes Sedai is burning, and it's just like, wow, it's so intimidating and so terrifying. And later in the episode where they run across them again, and Moraine uses like the truth to basically tell a lie. She massages the truth in such a way that it's like telling a complete lie, but nothing she says is a lie itself. So it's really interesting, and I like the fact that. So I really like how we use Moraine telling Egwene about the three oaths as a like setup for what happens later when they meet the White Cloaks. Like, so she's basically telling her like they always tell the truth, but you got to be careful about what you're hearing because even though it's the truth, it may make you think something completely different. So it's like a lie in disguise. So they really pretty much set that up perfectly, and then we get to see her do that. And then she's like saying that she's a lady from a fallen house and they're under her care. Like that is true, and it's like I just thought it was kind of interesting. Nobody kind of brought that part up, like when they kind of questioned the rest of what she was saying, like as a lie or whatever. But they didn't bring that part up, so I guess they just assume she's a noble woman. Because, like, well, based on what they said last episode about the idea of the White Tower turning away a peasant, then maybe it would be assumed that she would be some kind of noble. All right, so I've been rambling, but let me kind of just break it down based on what happens in the episode. So in the episode, our group continues to run away from the Trollocs. They get away from them by crossing this river because Trollocs can't go into deep water because they basically just sink and they drown and stuff. And so they continue to go and continue to go, but all this work using the one power that Moraine has been doing is severely weakening her. So eventually she ends up passing out when they're like camping and stuff. And as a last resort, Lan tells them all to go to Shadow Logoth, which is like a bad idea. Like Moraine even mentions before they end up there that it was like a bad idea to go there because it is the city tainted by the dark, by the shadow and stuff. So it's a very, very evil place, and we start to immediately see the effects of it. Like Matt seems to have been immediately influenced by the darkness a little bit because he was basically led right to that dagger that we know is going to have some consequences. So it's like really interesting to me. Like, and it was right after this very heartfelt conversation he had with Perrin about the dagger that Perrin's wife made him and stuff, saying that it was a tool more than a weapon and everything. Like that whole conversation, and then to just immediately be drawn to a different dagger, that feels like the shadow was basically watching and that, watching that conversation. It was like, okay, I can pick that and use that against this guy, and like have him for temptation or whatever. Like so, it basically causes Matt to then go and get the dagger, and then like right after that, like the pure darkness of it starts to come after them. And one of the horses, the effect they used when the darkness like took over this horse and turned it to ash, I thought that was really, really cool. That's so menacing and terrifying stuff. So it really set up the threat of it really, really nicely. And then everybody basically scatters. Like Lan grabs Moraine and just takes off. He doesn't even care to think about where everyone else is or anything. Perrin and Egwene run off, and then Matt and Rand run off, and they all basically get out. They get out of the city, but they're like in very different directions. And the city is large enough that they're probably going to have to spend some time finding each other. And I think it's really, really cool, like the way it all played out. It was really intense and like really high energy, and I thought it was really nicely done. Oh, also, what happened before that, though, when they were all walking, when they were all on their horses and stuff, and they started to sing the song about Manetheren, I thought that was so well done. The song is so well done. I thought they just, like, left that whole part out because it wasn't in the first episode. Like, she didn't give the speech and everything like she did in the book. But bringing it back in this way with the song and then her giving the whole speech, telling them the story of it and everything, I was like, it's so cool. Like, it made me feel pride for Emmons Field and stuff like that. Like, it's so cool. Like, all that stuff they're talking about. And I feel like it gave them a different perspective of it and everything. And it's just like, it made it feel so much more rich. And then their singing was so well done. Like, all of them singing together was actually awesome. I hope that was like their actual voices and stuff. Oh, and we also get like a great little hint at what's to come with Perrin and the wolves. I thought that was really cool. I love how his reaction was basically him assuming he was dreaming because they've already started to have those intense dreams from the shadow and stuff, which I thought was so cool because I completely forgot about that part in the books. Like, I'm so far past that, like, I completely forgot about it. When they started having the dreams, I was like, oh yeah, I was like, this is totally a thing. And I was like freaking out about it. And so I was so happy that that came back in. Those dreams were so unsettling. With Rand, like, taking the bat out of his mouth and stuff, I was like, ugh. But that image of Shaitan, I guess, like, if that was supposed to be, I don't know, it looked like some lizard man or something. I'm not that impressed with that. They could have just kept it as like a silhouette or something like that. Perrin and the wolves, I really like that they all, like, we've been hearing them throughout the episode. Like, throughout the episode, you can hear them in the background and stuff. And I was getting really, really excited because I was like, oh, those are Wolf Brothers. Like, those are brothers. Like, those are brothers. And I was just getting so super hype about it and everything. And then when he's by the river and stuff and, like, got that wound, and then they all just kind of show up and they're just, like, looking at him and stuff. And that one that was clearly the alpha, it's like, like it just walks up and like licks the wound. I'm like, that's both kind of gross, but also like really awesome. So I kind of wonder though, like would they do something like give him extra like wolf ability or something like that? Like maybe that could heal that wound and he'll have like enhanced healing. Like he's not a werewolf or anything like that. Like maybe they could add more to the wolf brother abilities. Like I would really appreciate that. Like anything they do with it, other than making it lame somehow. Like I would be all about it. Like please just like give him a little extra abilities. I mean, because so far in the books, he, at least where I am, he hasn't been using wolf brother-ness to the degree that I really would like. So I would be all about them changing it to add more of that into it because it would be a great visual dynamic as well. So yeah, that was basically my rambly section where I just kind of spew all this stuff, very pretty much unorganized. But before I go, I do want to say that I'm really enjoying the show, and I really do like some of the changes that they're making. Because like I've said before, I think the series is well done, but I think there's a lot of things in it that are very rough, and it can use some smoothing out, and it can this is a series that I think honestly benefits from changes, from different interpretations, because so much of it feels like interpretation, like so much of it doesn't feel, because it feels like I don't know, I guess like a Rorschach test or something like that, because it feels so much like everyone's experience is so incredibly individualized with the series, like that it makes sense to kind of interpret it in a certain way and kind of boil it down based on an interpretation and not try to keep all of the threads that allow for other interpretations. And some of these different changes just kind of help the narrative flow better, especially when you're trying to condense it for TV and stuff. So as I already said, I'm totally here for the changes, but I have a limit. Like obviously, like last episode, I was feeling a little weird, like especially with Perrin's wife and everything. Like doing that entire fridging the girlfriend trope is literally what they did with his wife, which I feel some way about that. But I was okay with that because it facilitates what's supposed to happen with him later. So they made a change, but they kind of fixed the change in a roundabout way, even though they had to make use of a tired trope. But it's still done well enough that I'm totally here for it. So I am a fan of the changes that I've seen so far. But I really hope they don't change like too much. I really still need them to keep the core of the stuff that I really enjoyed from the books. So yeah, I guess that's how I'm feeling so far. So I haven't gotten into episode 3 yet, but I'm definitely going to watch that like now, like right now. So if you're interested in my reactions, like I said in the beginning, make sure you check out my Patreon down below. So as always, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And let me know in the comments down below, what was your favorite part of the episode? What's going on so far that you're really into? Do you like the changes? How do you feel about those so far? All right, I will talk to you all next time. Peace.